When I hear about Australia leading the world in alternative energy production and technologies, my heart lifts. I want to be an Australian. I became a citizen in 2013, and on that year I got burnt out by my first fire. And living in the bush up here in Mount Victoria, I sort of took that on the chin and thought, well, now I'm an Aussie. If I can survive the fire, I can survive anything. And so from that moment, I went about planning to be able to defend my property, but not only defend it, but defend it by making it into a moist, living garden. And I believe that property defence starts with good soil containing water. And that would be my number one. My number one tool would be drip irrigation that I've established around every tree here. And I know what my soil's feeling like, and I did before the second fire we've had. Giving up was never an option after the second fire. It was a lot more intense than the first fire. And I think all that intensity was brought on by a dry property without the defences we've put on. When you walk in on the property, you feel like there hasn't really been a fire, and it's not until you go around the perimeter and you see the whole 360 perimeter has been eaten by the fire. And that a few places that were going to improve, it did enter. But otherwise, we managed to defend the property. And it all started with the garden. And it's funny that I can look at the fire that's passed for us and what are the consequences to my garden. I dumped 40,000 litres of water. The garden got a fantastic watering, and I came back on site and it was giving. And the insects, and we have dragonflies here, we have all kinds of different insects, and I feel so protective of them within the garden here. And it's almost an outpost in the bush, I feel, for the animals that were connecting to Vanam before and perhaps are visiting after. One of the costs of the fire was wildlife. I really felt that. We've been out walking, and when we walk, we take a container with water and carrots. We'll come across wombat poo in the forest, and I don't know where they got that poo from because there's nothing around. But we'll look for a hole or, just a place that would be obvious and put carrots down and some water in a bowl to be collected some other time. And just keeping the property green, we saw animals taking refuge, birds, and insects and lizards. We know our 2 blue tongues are safe. These things mean a great deal. I'm so grateful for the property and the RFS that came to help and slow the spread of the fire in the beginning and take the heat out of it. I think we need to embrace alternative energies and alternative ways of living. And, just when it gets down to the nuts and the bolts of harvesting grey water, at one stage, because our guests here provide us with our grey water, which we use for irrigation, so we've missed them for the Christmas break, and they're coming back, and we'll then go into an irrigation program with our grey water. But I was thinking, where would there be a place within the community that I live in, either at the mountains or down in Penrith, perhaps, that they have grey water available explicitly for irrigation. And I think it's on those levels that we need to start really engaging and making available. I think one of the places that I really resonate with is the engagement with the natural world, and not an easy life. I think if you're sold an easy life, you're going to end up having bushfires. I think engaging with the practical world is so rewarding. I wouldn't say, it's mundane or it's hard or any of those things. We're very physical beings, and I think we miss those. And in the absence, we see difficulty within our community and cultures. And instead of slow cooking, I think coming down to a really slow life and washing with just a small bowl and then using that water to water your plants, just small, minimal things which I think help to create a practice within yourself and an awareness within yourself about how you should be using resources and how valuable they are. I think water is the Australian currency. And when I've been building here, I've always been laying the infrastructure beneath the building to be able to run a sustainable property. I see all water that comes on the property as really valuable, and we use it a couple of times through our grey water and then the black water. And we also pick up running water off the driveways as storm water, and that's used for irrigation and firefighting. We also, I think, what I have here is a garden, and I've spoken about keeping a garden, and ultimately that garden will keep you and the people that visit here in both environment and food and in a livable climate. I think to be a gardener you've got to be an optimist, and I really, really feel that needs to be propagated, because without optimism we don't have half of our engines running, I don't think. And there's work to be done here after the recent fires to make it better for the next one, plus to make it better as a property, as a garden.
It's been a big year that we've had, but a year that I've taken advantage of, really. After the fires, I just wanted to get back to normality so quick. I really didn't check in with myself and see where I was after the fires. And when COVID came along and we were all told to batten down and stay isolated, I really took that as an opportunity to slow down on the property and to check in with myself. And all the insecurities that the year had presented with the fires and the climate, and now within our society, a plague going through. We didn't know how bad it was going to be. And so I really brought life down to managing it on a very simple day-to-day basis, where I'd get up and I'm very practical, and so I'd fill my day with getting up and stretching in my body, and that's where I start. And then feeding the body with cutting up just simple fruit and sharing a cup of tea with family, and starting the intention for the day. And inevitably that intention would just lead us into the garden, because Vanam really is a venue within the forest in a garden. And that's been the saving grace. And if I was to say what was my balm for feeling uncertain, worried, anxious about what lays ahead, it's what lays immediately in front of me, and it's my garden. It's the ability to connect with that and to make better. And I grow optimism, and I'd have to say that I believe that gardening is the act of optimism, because you are investing now for the future. Living at the top of the mountains and experiencing the fires, not in the city and just the smoke, but being out here and being in harm's way, really sharpens the knife for action. I have the ability to share this beautiful place every weekend with people from the city, and that's my job now, is to show an alternative. And I feel driven by that, and I feel connected, and I feel worthful, if that's a word. I feel valuable in a sense that I have something here that is foundational with regards to what we need to have to move forward. And that is a clean and healthy and loving environment, one that we connect with our Indigenous brothers and sisters and with our plants and our animals that we have here. They're all so special. They all need such care. And that's why we have to be here. There's no choice really, but to get on and make yourself the best you can to make the world the better. And it's that passion that gets me up every morning with the sunshine, and to have a little breakfast, have a cup of tea, to make that intention for the day and to carry it out. And so at the end of the day, I can sit down and say, I've earned my dinner, I've earned my place. I've been surprised at such decimation from the last fires. I have to say that people talk of recovery, and I do see recovery, but when I look out of our property here, I still see 80% of the landscape suffering, and it's even hard for me to say 80% without life. It's the animals, the invertebrates, the birds, the frogs. It's all those little things that aren't seen immediately that are in absence. And I find it difficult looking out. And if I drive specifically down the Bell, I see landscape that is nowhere near recovering. And it's like a billboard to me that says, wake up, this could be it. And then I come home to the place where I have the ability to work from and to make better, and I see the difference that you can make. I've been, in my mind, looking at what I could simply convey to someone, perhaps if I was to condense it down to one word, what was that I was trying to protect. And I would have to say that it's come as the canopy. And so often I will find myself looking up at the trees that surround Vanam, our venue, and they're here with their full canopy because we provided a defence for the property. For me, looking at our venue with the canopy and with life returning, and we have our wombats, we have our echidna, we have our blue tongues, possums, bird life is just amazing, and they've become friends. Like I stepped out of the house this morning and was bombarded by parrot saying, Andy, aren't we meant to meet by the little seed lid you have? Where have you been? And all these things are my threads of connection, my value, my money in the bank, really. It's so rewarding. And so the work to look after the place and plant natives and to make sure that water on the venue is used wisely and in a cycle, these are all investments in a currency that's for the future. Times are so tough, and we're connected electronically through all these devices, and news arrives all the time, and it's okay to switch them off, and it's okay to connect with yourself, and it's okay to go for a walk in the bush and to nourish yourself and take the time to look for a career that allows you to connect with your truths. And it doesn't have to be that rewarding financially, but as long as it feeds your soul, that's the most important thing, being a balanced and happy person.